All right, friends, Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. Some of you were sending me links to a recent video by RFK Jr. This was published on YouTube and probably other friends, Peggy Hall, probably on other platforms as well. And let me just share this with you. We're going to do a deep dive on it. So let me share my screen and let me know if you've seen this as well. And apparently, RFK is watching my videos because he never says the word democracy once. But here's what he does say. I'm going to play it for you a couple of times. We're going to go to the beginning, but let me play this. We'll go to the punchline right off the bat.
I'm not going to take away anybody's vaccine who wants a vaccine. I'm just going to make them safer for everyone.
Did you catch that? Let's hear that again.
Who wants a vaccine? I'm just going to make them safer for everyone.
Oh, that is amazing. Okay, let's hear that again. He says, when I'm president.
Despite what you may have heard, I'm not going to take away anybody's vaccine who wants a vaccine. I'm just going to make them safer for everyone.
Uh-huh. Okay, I see. Uh-huh. What do you think about them apples? He's not going to take away anyone's vaccine who wants them, but he is going to make them safer for everyone. I'd like to know what you have to say about that. This was a month ago. By the way, I left a comment on that video today. I should have taken a screenshot because it's gone. So let's go here. Maybe it got buried somewhere. Okay, so let's see. This was published. It says August 22nd, so just about a month ago. My comment would have been the most recent because I left it today and it's gone. And my comment said pretty much what I'm going to talk about in this video right now. So we'll go to the beginning and I will leave a link for you so that you can actually, I will leave a link for you on YouTube and I'll also leave a link for you on SUBSTACK. And I know that it's difficult to understand his voice, but let me just play a little. Well, I did play a little bit here. Whoops. Okay. So
since I decided to run as an independent candidate for the presidency, one of the issues people seem most confused about is my position on vaccines. So today I'm going to set the record straight.
Okay, that's awesome. He's using the title of my video, which is called RFK Jr. Sets the Record Straight. And that's where I have a compilation of, a few, maybe half a dozen interviews where he says very clearly and emphatically, I am pro-vaccine. I have always been fiercely pro-vaccine. People think I'm anti-vaccine, but I'm not. And I did a compilation. And then I will link that for you at the end of this video and in the description box. And then I had a link to all of the complete interviews where you could listen to the whole interview. Some of those went on for 30 minutes, an hour. So of course I couldn't put all of that into one video. I wanted to give you his statement. Some of you said, I misconstrued it. He only said it one time. And the name of that video was RFK Jr. Sets the Record Straight. So now he's setting the record straight. And I'm going to read the transcript so that we can go through it a little more clearly. And then I will also put that transcript for you. Well, you can get it on the video as well. You just go to the description box, click on transcript, and you can read it. So what I did is I've got it here and I highlighted a couple of points that were interesting to me about exactly the points that he made. So let me grab that for you here. And all right, I'll show you. And then I'm going to talk about a couple of these points. So bravo, we're making an impact, friends. The healthy Americans are making positive waves of change, pushing back against this confusion, I could say, or misdirection. Some of you have said, he has changed his position. Well, let's listen in to this transcript and I will share that with you. Okay, here we go. He said, since I decided to run as an independent candidate for the presidency of the presidency, one of the issues people seem most confused about is my position on vaccines. So today I'm going to set the record straight by explaining my exact posture point by point if you're willing to take a few minutes. I think he says you will be surprised. This is interesting. I think you might be surprised to find out how much we actually agree. Let me know what you think about that comment. I find it slightly manipulative, as though he is already telling us that we're going to agree with him. It's a technique that people use to be persuasive. And he's using it He said, he is an attorney after all. He says, so let's begin with my first point, which is probably the most controversial. Vaccines have side effects just like every other drug. I agree with him. This should not be controversial, but it is when I'm asked about this on television. It usually sounds something like this. You said that no vaccine is safe and effective. Quote, there's no vaccine that is, safe and effective. Do you still believe that? Okay, let me stop for a moment. He's putting the words again together, safe and effective, safe and effective. I just did a video for you moments ago about the CDC and the FDA using the words safe and effective, safe and effective, safe and effective. It's a brainwashing technique by the CDC, the FDA, and the mainstream merry-go-round, the media, and it's a narrative that they are pushing so that people put those words together. On his website, he has a whole program called Vaccine Safety. Now, maybe since he or someone's been watching my videos, someone is taking my comments down off of his YouTube channel. Perhaps they'll change that phrase, vaccine safety, to vaccine dangers or vaccine harms, because I take issue with sandwiching those two words together. That's like saying, giving condoms to rapists so that they can have, I don't want to get, I will probably have to take that off this channel now because I don't want to get a strike. But you can't, there are certain things you can't make safe. All right. Poison is one of them. Then he says, that statement came from an interview where I was interrupted and I didn't get to complete my thought. Can you name any vaccines that you think are good? Then he says, I think some of the live virus vaccines are probably averting more problems than they're causing. All right, so he's in favor of some of the live virus vaccines. Those are his words. He said, there's no vaccine that is, safe and effective. What I was saying, that interview, and what I've said for 20 years, is there is no such thing as a vaccine that is safe and effective for everyone. Okay, friends, I know I'm an English teacher. That's called a qualifier. A qualifier means it's not an absolute statement. If he had ended his phrase, there's no such thing as a vaccine. Well, here, let me share it with you. I'll just show you what I'm reading. If he had said that there's no such thing as a vaccine that is safe and effective, I probably would have agreed with him. But what he said is for everyone. That's a qualifier. And then you're left to be in the lottery of, hey, I'll just play Russian roulette and see if maybe it will be safe and effective for me. And then he says, let me explain. Just like every drug on the market, vaccines have side effects that severely injure and kill some people. That's another qualifier. Every year. If that's in contrast to what you've been told, then your doctor probably never showed you the warning sheet that comes with every vaccine on the market. Now, he goes into great detail over the hepatitis B insert. Apparently, he's watching my videos. I did a whole series on hepatitis B, how ridiculous it is, how the unnecessary aspect of it is for children, because hepatitis B comes from promiscuity and drug abuse. So he talks about all of that. I'll just skip over that a little bit. Again, you can read this in detail. Then he says, the children who are suffering from these side effects, our health department believe we shouldn't talk about vaccine injuries because they are rare, but I don't agree with that. We can't fix a problem by ignoring it. Now, I agree with him. Okay, so I'll go on a little bit more here. I'll just come off the screen because it's probably hard for you to read it there. He says, vaccine injured children deserve just as much attention as a child with a rare disease like cancer. Luckily, the thinking on this is starting to change. Here's a recent New York Times article about people who have been injured by the cooties cocktail. Thousands believe that the cooties cocktails has harmed them. Is anyone listening? He says, all vaccines have at least occasional side effects. I agree with him. But people who say they were injured by the cooties cocktails believe their cases have been ignored. And the article explains that all vaccines do have occasional side effects. That's another qualifier. It calls for an investigation of the injured so that we can come up with solutions. Okay, get ready for this. He starts applauding Deborah Birx. And he says, even one of the heads of the Code Task Force, Dr. Deborah Birx, is joining this call for action. Well, that's why we need all the people to come forward that have had reactions because I'm not sure all of them have been reported. Get ready for this. This is very important. I've been telling you about this, that one of his narratives is to restore confidence in the FDA, the CDC, the NIH, all of these government agencies. I've done videos and Substacks where I do a deep dive into this very troubling issue for me, because number one, how do you restore confidence when you never had it? Number two, using the phrase restoring confidence is planting a seed in your mind to think, yeah, I should have confidence in these agencies. And you know what? If we're restoring it, that means probably my granddaddy believed in them, and I'm the one that doesn't believe in them. So let's restore the confidence. I reject this entire narrative. He said in his interview debate with Alan Dershowitz that his number one priority is to restore confidence in these agencies. Well, my number one priority is to shrink these agencies and get rid of these agencies, right? A snake is a snake is a snake, my friends. Leopards don't change their spots. Suddenly you think that these agencies are not going to be corrupt. I just did a video with a moment ago showing you that the guy that was the head of the FDA compliance and all of that for 20 years went on the board, was hired by AstraZeneca. It's a revolving door. Let's get real here, friends. No one is going to clean up these agencies. How about dismantle them? So having said that, here's his statement. There's been so much credibility lost in the public science groups, NIA, FDA, CDC, because I think there was a lack of really just transparency. Okay, I get he's talking off the cuff. Actually, I think he's reading a script. But what he said there is that there's been so much credibility lost by the public in these agencies, the CDC, the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, and the FDA, which NIH, by the way, if you're an animal lover, you should see the horrific torture and cruelty that they inflict upon these animals in the name of science. I think it was his aunt who was doing all of the horrible, or she wasn't personally doing it, I hope not, but she oversaw and had all of these studies torturing monkeys. It was horribly cruel. I think that it was going on until just recently. So that's in his DNA that he likes to talk about. So his point here is that it's just that the agencies aren't doing a good job. Do you think that's true? You think they can be cleaned up? You think a leopard changes its spots? One of the things I used to tell my colleagues, he says, don't be afraid to say you don't know the answer. And all too often people would make up the answer. And, you know, those of us that tried to suggest that there may be significant side effects from the cocktails, we kind of like I'm not sure if this is an accurate transcript. You can listen to the whole video, but it says we got canceled because no one wanted to talk about the potential that there was a problem from the shots, because they were afraid that that would cause people not to get the shots. For years, we've been told that the vaccines have been studied extensively, but Dr. Birx knows this is not true. All right, this is his other narrative. So he's got the narrative of only some people are injured by these, so they're only harmful for some people, and we should research to see which are the people that are harmed by these. The other narrative is that we need to increase the confidence in the CDC. Why? So that the next time they come around and tell you to get a jab, you'll trust them. I know you're smart enough to connect the clots of this kind of narrative. I mean, I can see right through it. It's like a billboard with flashing lights. I don't fall for any of these narratives. And the next one he has here is that we've been told that the vaccines have been studied, but Dr. Birx knows this is not true. His next narrative is we need more studies. No, we don't need more studies. We need no more studies, and we need no more shots. That's where I am going with this. Why is the government involved in it anyway? It doesn't even make sense. Is the government involved? Well, I guess they are in so many things. You can't even get a haircut without the government having to license you as the barber. But it's ridiculous how involved the government is in our business. Why is the government involved with these pharmaceutical companies and the drugs? Doesn't make sense to me. I would get rid of the whole FDA and the CDC. So then he says, she should be called an anti-vaxxer for finally telling us the truth. Again, he's pushing this narrative that we need more testing. More testing means more shots. More testing means more harm. More testing means more millions, if not billions of dollars lining the pockets of AstraZeneca and others that are getting your money, yours from your tax dollars that are stolen out of your paycheck and your Social Security every month. They're getting your money to continue and expand, which is what RFK wants to do, to make them safe. He said in the beginning, I want to make them safer for everyone. No, I don't want a part of that. Okay. He goes on to say, in 2005, Dr. Bernadine Healy, the former head of the NIH, the National Institute for Health, made a shocking admission to CBS News that this is the time when we do have the opportunity to understand whether or not there are susceptible children, perhaps genetically, perhaps they have a metabolic issue or a mitochondrial disorder, immunological issue that makes them more susceptible to vaccines. I reject that narrative as well, that only certain people are going to be injured by them. What say you? I don't care for that. You have to read completely, not just go for the emotion. He's got music playing and headlines blaring. That's why I like reading this to you, because it's just cut and dry. Then he goes on to say, well, maybe they're susceptible to a particular shot or to a component in it, like mercury. And why this is important is because a susceptible group does not mean that vaccines aren't good. This is what he said. So only because some people get harmed, it doesn't mean they're not good. Maybe there's a group of individuals or a group of children that shouldn't have a particular one, or shouldn't have it on the same schedule, that the public health community and physicians are out there. And to say, yes, we can make it safer. I reject that. This is what he's saying. People probably aren't even going to listen to his whole video. I did. I listened to it several times. I have the transcript. They're just going to hear him say that there are people that get harmed by it. That's all they're going to hear. How do I know? Because I get your emails. Not you, the smart ones. But I get the emails saying, look, he changed his. No, he didn't change anything. He's actually greasing the chute so that you slide through and you don't even hear the part about how he wants to make them safe for everyone. Okay. He doesn't mention the part about, okay, he says, I'm going to usher in a new era in medicine. I'm going to make sure that our regulatory agencies stop putting the interests of the pharmaceutical industry above the interests of the American people. I'm going to make sure that you are told the truth about every product, and that includes all of the benefits and all of the side effects that they know about. And I'm going to fund our regulatory agencies to fix the problem. Are you seeing the red flashing lights yet, friends? Or should I just end this video now? He's going to expand the FDA. Well, he's not going to do anything because he's not going to be president. He wants to expand the FDA. He wants to expand the CDC. He wants to expand the NIH with all of their horrible cruelty and infliction of torture on animals. He just said it. I am going to fund our regulatory agencies to fix the problem instead of ignoring them. And I'm going to stop them from gaslighting and silencing the physicians and scientists who want to talk about the injuries. Okay, he says, this leads me to my next point. And I agree with this point. He says, the vaccine makers should be legally responsible for their products. Amen. I've been talking about that. This is the 1986 Act. Again, I'm glad that I'm making waves, that my videos have had an impact. They had an impact with Del Bigtree. They have had an impact with RFK, because now he's talking about this. I've often said, why isn't he talking about it? Now he is. I still have more questions for him. And he's never mentioned democracy once. So I know that we are having an effect. And it's not just me, friends. Thousands of you have emailed his campaign. Thousands of you have withdrawn your money from Children's Health Defense. I'm not saying that's a good thing, or you should do what you want to do with your money and your support, but I'm saying that you have had an impact writing to him, writing to Del Bigtree, and saying, hey, what's up with this fixation, this obsession on the safety, the safety and the testing? If there's not enough sufficient information about the testing and the safety, stop the shots, not expand them. This doesn't make sense for me. So I do agree that the makers should be legally responsible for their products. Absolutely. He says, let me explain. In 1986, vaccine manufacturers were losing so much money from lawsuits for death and injury caused by their vaccines that they couldn't make a profit. So they asked our government to protect them from liability, and that's what Congress did. It passed the so-called 1986 Vaccine Injury Compensation Act, which, by the way, was structured and written by the National Vaccine Information that woman, her name escapes me. Very, very interesting. Who's doing what here? Many people are questioning Barbara Loe Fisher. She was in on this 1986 act. I find that very interesting. It says, as a result of that bill, vaccines are the only consumer product that are completely shielded from liability. That means no matter how reckless the company behaves, no matter how negligent they are, no matter how grievous your injury, you can't sue them. Well, you can't sue them, but you do go to this vaccine court. And my understanding is that the awards are limited like to $250,000, which is nothing when you've got a lifetime of harm to your child and everything that you need to do to compensate for that. So he says, let me ask you, if a company can't be sued when their product injures or kills somebody, what incentive do they have to fix it? I agree with him 100%. He says, as an attorney, I can assure you that once the company knows that they can be sued when their product is ineffective, I don't agree with this, they work much harder to fix the issue themselves. Then he says, so let's stop on that for a moment. When they know their product is ineffective, this is another way of saying he wants safer jabs. He's in favor of them. He just wants them safer. I'm not in favor of them. I personally don't use them. I don't see any use for them. I don't understand this whole concept of considering that foreign injections into your body is somehow better than God's divine design. I reject that. I reject the notion that somebody's going to make me sick. If that's the case, how is it that my husband can have the sniffles and a cough and a fever and I don't get it? How is that? And if you're telling me, well, my whole family got it, well, maybe something else was going on. Let's look at these other explanations for why we get sick. Maybe you all ate the same food. Maybe you all breathed the same air. Maybe you all drank the same water. Maybe you all were under the same stress. Maybe there was something called miasma. It's kind of in the air, not a contagious thing. There's so much that is unknown about this, and I reject this concept of making it more effective. I reject it. Then he says, we need to repeal the 1986 Act, and we can replace regulation with responsibility and accountability. Now, I'm not quite sure what he means. I don't know if he means we need new regulation. How are you going to have that responsibility and accountability? I'm curious and encouraged by that. Then he says, my last point is this. I think he's been watching The Healthy American. He says, freedom means having the right to choose. He didn't say democracy. And I have been for the last year drumming this narrative of we have the right to choose. It doesn't matter if they're effective or not. So bravo, RFK Jr., you did step up to the plate. You did set the record straight, as you called it. He says freedom means having the right to choose. And then he talked about Brandon passing the mandate. First of all, Biden did not pass any mandate, okay? There was no law for anyone in any state or federal, to become a human pincushion. Let's just clear that up right away. I have to do a whole nother video for you because some of you are confused and you thought that Trump shut the country down. Okay, Trump or any president has zero authority over the individual states. In California, it was Newscom. Oh, by the way, did you hear Trump call him Newscom? I think Trump is watching my videos. He called him Newscom. Newscom is the one that shut the schools, not Trump. All right, Gretchen Whitmer is Gretchen. She shut down the state of, where are they? Minnesota. It's not The president has no authority to do that. Now, what the president has authority to do is to shut down federal agencies and departments. They can lay off federal employees. I don't even know if they can do that, but they do have some authority within the executive branch over those departments and agencies that are under the authority of the executive branch. Biden illegally, and I can say illegally because it was overturned in the courts, he illegally issued executive orders for federal employees and federal contractors, by the way, to become human pincushions in order to keep their jobs. And I helped thousands of federal employees keep their jobs without the jab. Many of them did it for free by watching and studying my videos. I helped people who were government contractors keep their jobs, like at Boeing and Northrop Grumman and others. So no, Biden didn't pass any mandate, Bobby. Maybe you just said that off the cuff, but I think you were reading from a script. There's a mandate can only come from a judge. A judge can mandate that you go to, prison or rehab or something in accordance with the law. The judge can't make up a law, and the president can't make up a law. He issued an executive order which was struck down by the courts. And in the meantime, people took the time to educate themselves about their rights and to inform their employer that they were not going to capitulate. It's as simple as that. So it is true that this Brandon tightened the screws. He also was reading from a script, and, one of the puppets on the stage for the puppet masters. And this is what Brandon said: "This is not about freedom or personal choice, getting jabbed. It's about protecting yourself and those around you." So then Bobby goes on to say, if a person does not have the final decision over their own bodies and they are owned by whoever does this, that was the central discussion during now here's another thing that I don't agree with him on. During the trials of the doctors who committed war crimes during World War II that resulted in the passage of the Nuremberg Code. All right, Bobby, I am a little shocked at you invoking this. I don't know if you're doing it for an emotional hit. You did show images of Nazis and everything on your, I don't know if I can say that word. You did show images of men in uniforms in Germany after World War II, and that elicits an emotional response, so that the emotions are now hijacked and the thinking mind isn't thinking clearly with the images and all of that. So let me set the record straight. And I've already set the record straight. I've done more than one video about the Nuremberg Code. The Nuremberg Code is not a law. The Nuremberg Code is a code of ethics and principles with 10 principles that I agree with, that I think are outstanding and exceptional. Absolutely. Let's applaud the principles in the Nuremberg Code. But let's not invoke the Nuremberg Code for two reasons. Number one, it's not a law, and it has no authority in the United States. There are laws, federal laws and state laws that, yes, are modeled after the Nuremberg Code about human experimentation. So let's invoke the appropriate and accurate law. Let's cite those laws accordingly. The second reason this really boils my blood is because it's invoking an international code of law. I don't want to internationalize or globalize, how I feel about the globe. I am not in favor of marching us toward any type of international law. And this constant invoking of the Nuremberg Code is barking up the wrong tree. So, Bobby, I'm surprised that you don't know that this isn't a law, and you don't know that this has no authority in the United States or in any state. The Nuremberg Code is not a law. The principles, yes, did form and inspire actual laws. Let's leave the Nuremberg Code out of it and invoke the federal laws and the state laws that actually apply. So he's talking about informed consent, and the voluntary consent of the human subject is absolutely essential. I agree, but let's use the correct citing of this. It's very important, friends. I'm not going to stop talking about it. These subtleties, how does it go? The devil's in the details. Then he says, Americans today are reawakening to the critical importance of the Nuremberg Code. I don't want Americans to awaken to the Nuremberg Code. I want them to understand the United States law. That's a law. That's not just a set of principles. Otherwise, this is pushing us toward the global governance, the United Nations, the WHO, which, by the way, he said he would follow whatever the WHO says, and the European National Association of Health. I did a video about that previously. So no, I reject this part of his talk. Then he goes on to say over 75% of Americans who are eligible are refusing to take the latest cocktail. And for some, this would be their 9th one. And they've done their research and they've decided that they've had enough. Bravo. That's called informed consent. Okay. I did a video about informed consent. Informed consent protects the doctor so that if you sign some documents and you go ahead with whatever they've recommended, later you have a problem, you can't go back and say, hey, this happened to me. Why? Because you signed the informed consent. I call it the dark underside of informed consent. I've got it on my YouTube channel. All right. He says, Pfizer and Moderna are currently lobbying our government to mandate every cocktail just like the first one. I don't like to use that word mandate. Let's eliminate that from the language. It's giving authority and weight where it doesn't belong. You can call it an illegal requirement. You can call it an unthinkable action. You can call it a ridiculous protocol or stupid strategy. I've got plenty of names that don't use the word mandate. Leave it out. It's enforcing those words again together. Government mandate, safe and effective. Vaccine safety, government mandate. Get rid of it. This is a type of either intentional or inadvertent, but it still has the same effect of conditioning you to think that those words go together. I have millions of healthy Americans, and I'm stunned by the number of people that are awake and aware and alert to what's going on, still use the word mandate. I get tired of calling them on it because I'm like, I guess they haven't seen my videos, or that just goes to show you how deeply seated it is in the mind and the emotions. I reject it. I don't say it, and I won't say it. So I don't like that. Okay. Then he says, you can be sure if this passes, we will be lined up like cattle. That's pretty funny because I just showed you in the previous video how they want to treat us like cattle and have the flu mist up our noses, just like the poor cows. And mandated to take every shot. Stop using that word, please, Bobby. Just like we were the first time, American children are required to take 72 shots just to stay in school. Okay. What troubles me is he never says it's a shame that that was the legacy of my uncle, John F. Kennedy. He's always talking about his uncle. He did this speech with Trump, and he mentioned, I broke it down for you on this channel, maybe 6 or 7 or more times. He talked about his uncle and his father, his uncle and his father, his uncle and his father. That's called authority by association. So every time he mentions them, he wants you to be reminded that he's one of them. And he's not one. He's not one of them. Hopefully he's not, because his uncle, JFK, is the one who championed it was called the American Vaccine Assistance Act of 1962. He signed it into law. This is what got the ball rolling for federal money, which continues till today, to go to your state, your county, your school districts through the state, divvies it out so that every living being can become a human pincushion. Why doesn't he say, it's too bad that that was my uncle's legacy. I wouldn't have done it. I would have done it differently. Never mentions it. He sweeps that under the carpet. Maybe he'll talk about it now since I've been bringing it up so much. Then he says, that will never happen when I'm president. So to sum it all up, despite what you may have heard, I'm not going to take away anybody's vaccine who wants a vaccine. I'm just going to make them safer for everyone. Okay. How are you going to do that, Bobby? Serious question. How are you going to make them safer, which is different than safe? Everybody catch that? I know, I'm an English teacher. Words matter. He's an attorney. He said he's going to make them safer. First of all, that establishes a premise that they already are safe. If you're making something safer, like, hungrier, like you're already hungry, now you're hungrier. So he's already establishing that they're safe. So I reject that. You don't make them safer. Then he says, I'm going to make them safer for everyone, meaning you and me. Not interested. And then safer doesn't really mean, on the other hand, it doesn't really mean safe. You know what I mean? It's like where are we on that spectrum of safety? It doesn't matter if they're safe. You're barking up the wrong tree. In order to make them safer, you're going to have an expanded CDC that you said you're going to fund. You're going to have an expanded FDA that you want to fund, an expanded NIH to do all of these torturous, cruel, and inhumane tests and horrible whatever they're doing to the animals, and then have these vaccines tested on children, which means more shots, more side effects, I'll put it that way, and increasing the bottom line for AstraZeneca, Moderna, and Pfizer, and all the others that are hopping on the bandwagon. I did a video for you already, friends. I hope you're joining me every day at 4 p.m. Pacific. I exposed all of the millions of dollars that are going out of your tax money, out of your pocket, to these companies to create pills and sprays and patches and all of that. He's in favor of that. I'm not. I'm in favor of stop the shots. Get the government out of my business, period. That's what I'm in favor of. He says, I'm going to make sure that the industry is responsible for their products. Good. I like that. And I'm going to make sure that you are always free to choose what's right for you. I love that as well. If you agree with me, he says, go to Kennedy 24 and see what other changes I'm going to make when I'm president. All right. So basically, this was some time ago. It was a month ago, and that probably was right before he talked about joining Trump. So what say you, friends? Join my free Substack. I will have the whole transcript there so you can read it for yourself. I don't like to be bamboozled. I don't like to be hoodwinked. I don't like to be duped. I don't like to have the wool pulled over my eyes. I don't like doublespeak. And if somebody says that they are pro-vax, I'm going to believe them. And if they say, I just want more safety testing, I'm going to believe them. Why should I not believe them if they're saying that? So all y'all who are trying to justify and excuse and give explanations that he doesn't really mean that, why would you trust someone who says what they don't really mean? Now, there are a couple of times I get sarcastic, I get snarky. I'm obviously using sarcasm when I said that you're responsible for my health, because that's what they tell us that, isn't that true? But that's a joke. I don't think he's joking here. I think when he says that I'm fiercely pro-vax, and when he says we need to increase safety testing, I take him at his word, don't you? And if not, hold him to his word. If you want him to represent you, if you like his platform, if you're in favor of taking away the guns and letting moms murder their babies, up until who knows when, then for heaven's sakes, vote for the man. But at least have him represent what you believe when it comes to our medical freedom. I'm grateful to see that he has not mentioned democracy and that he's talking about repealing the 1986 Act. I think he's making baby steps. Let's see if he will continue to take it farther. That means that you are having a positive effect. And I'm so grateful, friends, to have you with me, because we are marching this all the way to heaven. See you soon, everybody.